Africa qualifier, and we'll be speaking to Steve Tikolo, former Kenya international and now the head coach of the Nigeria men's cricket team. Good afternoon, Steve.
Good afternoon, Beryl, and thank you for having me.
How is Nigeria?
Nigeria is good, we thank God. I've been there for roughly now 9 months, and we're moving on nicely. I've had a chance to have sessions with all the teams. When I say all the teams, because my job also involves being the high performance manager. So I'm looking after the senior team, men's team, senior women's team, the under 19s who are here right now, boys, and the under 19 girls.
So since you've been there for just under a year now, have you seen any shifts in any of your teams that you're handling?
Yes, I've seen very big shifts in the men's team. When I went there, I think I went there mid-October, and November we went to the T20 World Cup qualifiers in Rwanda, and the team did very well there. And the feedback that I got back was immediately within a month and a half, the team was playing different cricket, positive cricket, and we qualified for the next round, which will be in Namibia. And obviously the girls team, I've also worked with them. Had about 3 camps with the girls team, and early this year in March they won the Nigeria Invitational Women's Tournament in Lagos, and just recently they did so well in Rwanda. So there has been a good shift in terms of positive results since I arrived in the country.
Now that you've mentioned it, we first saw Nigeria women in 2011 at the Africa qualifier in Uganda in December 2011. Since then up to now, what has changed in their setup that is making them do so well? We saw how well they did in Kwibuka in this year, such that they even managed to get to play in the 3rd, 4th playoffs. What is it that they are doing different that they've been able to transition upwards since 2011 up to date?
I think we've tried to change how we do things in terms of how the teams train. My gospel is to have the players training as much as possible, playing games, even if it's internal games, practice games, because when you're out there in the middle is where you can improve, and also you can judge your levels in terms of where you are, and if there's anything we can go back and rectify in the nets. So we've changed how teams operate. Like I just mentioned, I've had 3 camps with the ladies team. With the men's team, I'm constantly training with the players that are available. I'm based in Lagos, so I have about 6 to 7 players in Lagos who I train with them 3-4 times a week, just to get them to become better players skill-wise. And like I said, having them play more practice matches, which creates awareness of match situation and all that.
Since you also have a high performance camp in Nigeria and you're in charge of that, what is it that you're doing differently that you wouldn't do just as a normal head coach?
In terms of high performances, again, it goes back to getting the players to work hard, putting all the structures in place in terms of how they work on their skills, the mental aspect of the game, their fitness levels. So it's about getting the process right in terms of high performance.
Okay, so any specific drills or any advice that you can give to coaches who want their players to improve but they do not have the facilities to run a high performance camp?
There are a lot of drills that one can do with batters, with bowlers. There are a lot of fielding drills. This would need, if at all I get access to those coaches, just to show them how it is done It's not something that I can explain here, but it needs you having the coaches with you and taking them through those drills. But yeah, there are quite a lot of drills in terms of batting, bowling and fielding.
Okay. So from playing cricket at a very high level to being now a roaming coach, you've coached Kenya, you've coached Uganda, you've coached Tanzania, and you're now in Nigeria. What is the number one aspect that you feel like coaches need to instill in their players for them to give good performances?
I think the most important thing is discipline. Discipline means just being able to do the right things at the right time. And as a cricketer or a sports person, discipline is paramount. You always need to, probably there's a process or there's something like a timetable that you need to stick to. And if you keep at it and follow the process, most of the times you find that you become successful. And there are no shortcuts to success. Apart from discipline, you have to put in the hard yards, and putting in the hard yards also requires dedication and determination.
Okay. Since we are here for the Under-19 Men's Africa qualifier, and you've seen all the 6 teams now since we are on day, is it 6 of the tournament? Can you just give us a summary and overview of the teams as you've seen them so far?
I think when you look at all the teams, I would say they are almost at par in terms of skill level. There are some who their cricket awareness is a bit higher than the others. The only thing, if I may call it a regret or disappointment, the players have not been allowed to showcase their skills because of the surfaces they are playing on. But it's not an excuse not to perform well. Sometimes as cricketers you'll find tough conditions which you have to navigate through. But I would have loved to see probably better wickets in this tournament.
So what next after the qualifier? Of course, it's only one team that is going through to Colombo. What next after the qualifier? Does it mean that the 5 countries that stay behind, that's the end of the road for them? And you've seen in this tournament, the kids are really young, like Kenya's opening bowler is only 14 years old. So what next, as a coach, what's next for the players who don't make it to Sri Lanka?
I don't think it's the end of the road. Maybe now if I can speak on behalf of Nigeria, because I don't want to speak on behalf of the other teams. I don't know what their processes are in their own countries. If I would speak on behalf of Nigeria, would be we'll now go back to the drawing board and see how many players we have in this under-19 team who will be available for the next series of qualifiers, and start working with those and see the ones who are coming up in terms of the development programs and bring them into the team. And obviously, you know, the cycle continues. And the ones who don't make the under-19 now, the ones who are a bit older, how do we have a pathway for them to go, say, for example, to Nigeria A, under-23, and then to the national team?
Growing up, I know you played in the age group championships or the invitational. You used to move around, come to Tanzania, play in Nairobi, play a bit in Uganda. Do you think it's time that the same way we have competitions for the national teams, do you think that now we have cricketers who are competitive enough to play in age group tournaments that are actually going to attract some revenue on both men's and women's sides?
Yeah, I think we do have players. I'll just give an example. Like in Nigeria, the development program produces a lot of players. In a year, I think last year, the figures were talking about 250,000 players who are coming through the development program. And yes, like you're asking, I think that is the way to go. Have these boys, even at the age group, playing different series against each other, different countries, because that is how they learn once they get to the national team. This is the process. So you want them to go through this process such that when they come to the national team, it's not a culture shock. They are ready for what is happening at the national team through this process of them playing each other against the other countries and all that.
Okay. So Kenya recently received ICC funding after being in the cold for about 3 to 4 years. You've seen where we've been. You see what has been happening when we didn't have ICC funding, when you are still struggling with managerial issues. Which pointers would you give now that we've gotten the green light to progress and try to rebuild our cricket back to a formidable position?
I think again at the end of the day is looking at what do the teams require in terms of the men's team, the ladies team, under 19, both girls and boys. What is required for them to, when they come to tournaments like this, to perform well and succeed. And I think that is the thing that needs to be put in place, because people outside will only know you with how your national teams perform. Yes, there's a development program, but your national teams, be it the men's, the women's, the under 19s, those are your mirrors to the outside world. So for me, the first thing I would think is, how do we get our teams to a place where they can perform well at the international level? So put those structures in place. If it means having your squads of 18, 20 players training almost every day, do that. If it means getting them to play more games, do that. If it means taking them on tours so that they learn quickly, do that. While the other things in the background can go on, your board meetings, office stuff can go on in the background. But as a country, you get noticed by how your national teams are performing.
On the same, in this period that we've been out of action or having very little action in the country, it means that now we are in a transitional period of sorts, and the players have been few and far in between coming up the ranks. How do you think, what's the best way to go about the transitional period? Because it's something that we're experiencing both on the men's and on the women's side. And we know what happened to us in 2011 when we got rid of the senior players completely. What's the best way to go through the transitional period in such a way that you don't lose the players that you already have, but you still have time and room to get to build players while still being competitive at the same time?
Obviously, in a team you would still want your senior players to be there to guide the younger players who are coming in. So again, that phasing out of senior players must be done in a good manner, in a structured manner, so that you don't end up having all juniors in the team. You still need to have the seniors there to guide them, and I think that is something that associations or boards need to find a balance there. You cannot just discard all your senior players at one go.
Okay. We saw Sarah at the Nigeria Invitational T20 Women's Tournament that you just spoke about as a batting mentor for the senior Nigeria women's team. We also saw her recently at Kwibuka doing the same job. Tell us a little bit about what she has been doing for Nigeria Cricket Federation and how useful it has been to the girls.
Yeah, Sarah has been with us, the Nigerian team, twice now, like you mentioned, in March in Lagos and recently June in Kwibuka. And for me, it's a very good thing that the president of Nigeria Cricket Federation thought of getting Sarah to come and be with the girls. I think he saw Sarah play in one of the Kwibuka tournaments in Rwanda, and he was very impressed with how Sarah was playing as a batter and as a leg spinner, and he thought it wise that if he brings Sarah on board, her experience and her knowledge of the game can rub upon the girls, and it worked magic, because the players looked up to Sarah. this is somebody who has played international cricket. She has very good records. I think she holds a batting record of 186 runs, which in female cricket is very commendable. So yeah, just Sarah being there with the girls and with her background and the stats that she has can easily rub off to the girls, and you know, girls might want to be like Sarah. So for me, it was a very good move for Nigeria Cricket Federation to do that.
Any chance that they'll give her the position permanently, if you know?
At the moment, we are in the early stages of discussions, and I think things are really looking positive. I don't want to go into details and preempt whatever is coming ahead. So I would just say, you know, it's looking positive.
Okay, that's good to hear. I'm asking this because it's very rare to see women who've played elongated careers like Sarah's get into coaching. Most of them now are getting into commentary. You will see one or two being assistant coaches, but the women rarely transition to be full-on coaches or even assistant coaches for national teams, even age group sides. Why is that? Is it that we are not building their capacity enough, or we just overlook them when the time comes?
No, I don't think it's overlooking them. I think cricket, having been predominantly a men's sport, you find that this was not happening, you know, in the days gone by. But I'm happy that now it's starting to happen. Ladies are being involved in coaching, commentary, umpiring. I think Margaret Banja went to a coaching, an umpiring course recently in Zimbabwe.
Yes.
And these are the things that we want to see, because don't forget, women's cricket is also coming up. So we need to start incorporating them in all spheres of the game. And like I said, it is something good to see that it is starting to happen. Obviously, a journey of 1,000 steps start with one step. So I'm happy that it is happening.
So we hosted the under-19 men's qualifier 8-9 years ago. Now we've come to Tanzania for the next one since then. Have you seen a difference, especially in the Kenyan boys who played, Kenya and Uganda, who played during that time, and now it seems like it's a completely different breed of players? Have you noticed that?
Yes, I've noticed that. I think the boys are playing a good brand of cricket. I was just watching the two batters, Kenyan batters, who are batting. I think one is Raj and the other one is Dash. And you know, you can see their skill level is very high, which says that things have improved and are moving in the right direction.
Okay. So thank you so much, Steve. It's been nice having you, and we look forward to chatting some more before the end of the tournament. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again, Beryl.